Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the wrap up of Group A from the Women's Euros competition. We're going to go over the two teams that have qualified and unfortunately the two teams that have not been able to qualify here on She Scores Bangers. The two teams that have been able to advance from our first group, Group A here, is the hosting nation England as well as Austria. The two teams who have been left behind is Norway and Northern Ireland. The biggest conversation here is Norway disappointing and really going out in quite an embarrassing fashion. Last Euros, they had not scored a single goal, they had not won a single game in the group stages, and overall was a very disappointing journey. Going into this year's Euros, however, they looked a lot more rejuvenated, re-energized, a bunch of star players really being on form at their club level, Ada Hegerberg obviously being back in the squad, and just, it looked like a very promising bunch of players that were going to put on a show. Their opening game was against Northern Ireland, which they had quite a dominating performance, winning 4-1. The goal that they conceded was off very sloppy defending from a set piece. Northern Ireland didn't really have a lot of chances where we were really able to see the weaknesses and the strength of the defense. A lot of the focus was very much on the attacking threats that they had, the three very dangerous, talented players they had up top. Not so much was really focused on the defense because we hadn't seen them really be in big trouble. Going into the England game, which we did discuss and go into a little bit more detail in our previous video, which I recommend you check out, everything was exposed. You're talking from every single defender to every single midfielder and even the attackers up top. Graham Hansen was playing in the 10th role in the middle area, which is not her natural position. That's not where we usually see her play. She wasn't very good and she was really struggling to send any creative attacks up front. So just over there, the midfield was struggling from an attacking aspect. The midfielders behind her, I mean, Ingen, honestly, I don't know what it is, but she really had a bad tournament here. Her passing was not up to par. She seemed really slow. It was not the Ingen we've seen play in Barcelona. Gura Reiten loves seeing a lot of her teammates in white spaces, and Norway's movement was not suitable for that. The formation was not really opening a lot of spaces for them. Bora Risa and Frida Manem were alternating. I thought both of them actually did pretty well. I feel for Frida Manem, I think she had a very good tournament for whatever minutes she was able to have, and it's quite saddening not to see her really grow and just really show her potential during this tournament because it's just been ended. The defense line was shocking, honestly. You had Blackstad playing in the left back position. She's not a natural left back, and I would say she was really struggling to defend against wingers. Thorne's daughter did not really have a very good tournament. She was having a lot of individual blunders. The captain, Maren Mjelda, she had struggled with injuries at Chelsea. This season she had just under 5 appearances for Chelsea, and for this tournament she had started every single game. Not only did she start all 3 games, but she was also there for 90 minutes and was wearing the captain armband. As good of a player as she is and as experienced as she is, that's a lot of weight to take on. And going to the Austria game, I don't think anybody or myself had them as really big favorites, especially what had just gone down in the England game. But I had thought the formation was going to change, tactics were going to change, game plan was going to come out different, and I thought the starting 11 was going to look almost completely different to what we saw in the England game. However, the starting 11 was exactly the same, the formation was also exactly the same, and the tactics looked to be exactly the same. Just don't understand how a manager can come out with the exact same plan, the exact same everything, as a game you just lost 8-0. I don't think it takes rocket science to figure out you really have to change a lot of things. And ultimately, England had just shown Austria a brilliant tutorial of how to score 8 goals in 8 different ways. So whatever plan he had intended on doing, it messed up the chemistry, it messed up any individual brilliance that was able to come out because you had a lot of players playing out of their natural position. And I feel like, honestly, throw 3 in the back and have Blackstad as a forward, or even just almost flowing around in the midfield to create some chances. She's not a defender. You cannot expect a fullback. I know, fullbacks are supposed to go forward, but when you're just being pressurized the entire time, how on earth is she supposed to push forward? It's hard to blame the players because you cannot change the formation on your own. You cannot change your positioning on your own. Sure, sometimes you drop back and forth, change if you're on the left wing, right wing, of course, here and there. But at the end of the day, you have to follow the game plan you've been given by your manager. I think Norway has to take a really close look at their management team. I cannot for the life of me pronounce the manager's name, but I know he's Swedish, and I really hope he's not doing this on purpose for the Swedish team to go ahead, and make his nation proud. Jokes aside, I honestly don't think he is the right man for this job. When you look at the players he has, when you look at the roster, the experience, the amount of pure quality, expect those players to be reaching quarterfinals, semifinals even. I really think they had the potential to get there. I was quite upset for Ada Hegerberg. She didn't have a goal in the group stages. I mean, they really scored 4 and conceded 10, so it's like they didn't have a lot of goals anyway to begin with. You can only hope they're able to rebound and almost go on a revenge tour next World Cup. Talking about the opposition now that knocked Norway out and ultimately took that second spot is Austria. Austria last Euros ended first in their group ahead of France. Every single player so far on the squad has had a very, very good tournament. I think you could very much say that about Laura Weinwerther. She's only played 2 games, the one against England and Norway, but in those 2, she has had some of the best moments of her career so far. But what makes them so special is that they're so organized, and I keep saying organized, but throughout the entire game that I was watching today, they were changing formations pretty often, and one that they were really sticking with was 4-1-4-1. And at any time they had that 4-1 formation, they would be literally 4-1-4-1. And as much as Norway was really trying to disorganize them or shift them apart, or really just, put a player up here, drop a player here, they were sticking to 4-1-4-1. Whenever they were pressing a certain player, they were still doing it in a 4-1-4-1 formation. Whenever that press had to reorganize or go backwards and kind of restart, they were in a 4-1-4-1 formation. And that's also one thing that England really struggled against as well. They couldn't attack so much from the wings because you could not really switch the formation up. Their midfield throughout those 3 games have communicated so well together. They changed the tempo on their own. So any team that's going up against Austria is not playing their game plan. They're playing Austria's game plan. Austria brings them into their game plan, which is a very powerful thing to do and very frustrating for the other team. Austria moves on now to face Germany, which is a very, very tough task. I think the Germans have just been on complete fire, but also Austria is not to be underestimated. Again, this was a great showcasing of that Austria cannot be underestimated. I think a lot of credit should be given to the manager, Irene, as well. I think her substitutions are just spot on. I don't even know how she is able to discipline her players the way she does, or however she's able to conduct camp. But the way she lays out a game plan and the way they're able to literally almost do the exact same game plan on the pitch is something to be really valued. And I think that's something not a lot of coaches or managers have. Just as much credit that goes to the players should be going to Irene, because she, I think, has done a spectacular job with the bunch that she has. Northern Ireland, obviously this was their first major competition and Euros that they were able to be featured in. You'd be surprised to know that a lot of the players, the majority of the players, don't actually play football full time. Northern Ireland does not have a professional league. The federation also doesn't have anything close in terms of funding to what the other European teams have. They come off the pitch having ran the entire course of the pitch, having given some players a good shift in. They definitely leave with a sour taste in their mouth, having lost 5-0 to England. But I think they held them pretty well for the first 30 minutes. I think they were giving them a lot of defensive issues and gave Mary Earps a few shots to save, which, I mean, she probably had a little nap in the Norway game, honestly. And hopefully going forward, the federation, I think now the money needs to pour in, the investment needs to pour in. You need to see a lot of these players go out to the WSL, to the Scottish leagues, possibly even to the NWSL. So I think for Northern Ireland, I think for the fans, for the federation, again, for the football, for the young youth in that country, this was a great competition to be in. For England, honestly, how much can you say about that squad? They've left so many people speechless. The squad, the ruthlessness, it's scary. I'd really hate to be going up against England, whichever team I'm in. They've won the 3 games in a very dominant fashion. They arguably had the hardest one against Austria. They've scored 14 goals, 5 of which have been just Beth Mead. We can talk a lot about Serena Wiegman, the attacking mentality that she's put into the squad, the way they possess the ball, they move the ball, but I also think you have to talk about the confidence that squad has. Sure, Beth Mead, Alessia Russo, Lauren Hemp, those young ones are filled with tons of potential and tons of confidence that they've been able to show. But you also have to talk about players who've just picked up form that they weren't really able to find last season at club. Lucy Bronze, I think Lucy Bronze is having a phenomenal 3 games. She almost, I want to say the vintage Lucy Bronze. We've seen the vintage Lucy Bronze. She's strong in the back. Her attacks are a lot more precise. They're a lot more creative now. And again, that could be because she's working under Serena Wiegman. The game plan that Serena Wiegman is asking them to put out really fits what Lucy Bronze is capable of. And to be fair, why would the squad not be confident? They've been flying by anybody. They've been scoring a ton of goals. They've conceding absolutely nothing. So why would that squad not be confident? But one thing I would love to see in that squad is rotation. The last 3 games in the group games have been the exact same starting 11. I'm not shocked to see this because that's what Serena Wiegman exactly did when she was with the Dutch. I mean, it won her gold at the last Euros, so why would she not do the exact same? And she's been questioned about it multiple times, and her main answer was really focusing on rhythm. She wants to keep that momentum going. She wants to keep that rhythm going. The bunch of players that she's able to put out have great chemistry, so why disturb that chemistry? And sure, I can agree with rhythm and chemistry, but I also think a lot of the players that you have on the bench have great chemistry together. Some players have not gotten any playtime at all, that being Beth England. I feel for her. I feel like she's a good player. She's a very intelligent striker. Her movement in the box is par to none. Ellen White has been starting ahead of her and Alessia Russo. Alessia Russo obviously lucky to get some minutes. She scored 2 goals, had a very, very impressive showtime for whatever minutes she was on. But I really hope that doesn't bite her back in terms of players getting tired. I mean, how funny would it be if we are to see the exact same 11 players start from the first game of the tournament to the last game of the tournament? I think that would be something very crazy to achieve, and I don't know if I want to see it. But if she's actually able to pull it off, you have to put those players in the fridge. Don't even put them in preseason. Don't even put them in the pitch anywhere near before the season kicks off. England's going to go off to either face Spain or Denmark, which we will find out tomorrow. We're also going to be bringing you a Group B wrap-up and Group C wrap-up and Group D wrap-up. We're going to be bringing you all the group wrap-ups for the next 4 days. It's also a very sad reminder that we're actually closer to the end of the competition than we are to the beginning of the competition. It's wild to think that we're more than halfway through the competition. It's been nothing but just an incredible time for the sport. It's bigger and better than ever, and I'm just so glad to see so many eyes on what deserves to have a lot of eyes on. For the next 15 days, make sure you're enjoying these games. Make sure you're keeping an eye on a lot of the highlights. And again, we're going to keep updating you on everything, so make sure you subscribe here and follow us on Twitter to stay updated and to continue enjoying the beautiful game. I will see you later.